Here we are. Hey, Alma. How are you?
Start running time, I know. Any hope?
What?
Any hope?
No, but we're gonna fight the good fight. I hope one of you brought bail money.
It is 4:30 p.m., and I'm calling this meeting of the Design Review and Preservation Board to order. Will the recording secretary please call roll?
Thank you, Chair. Board Member Anderson is absent. Board Member Ennis.
Present.
Thank you. Board Member Fagin,
Here.
Board Member Weigel,
Here.
Vice Chair Sharon,
Present.
Chair Jones-Carter.
Here.
Thank you, and let the record reflect that all board members are present with the exception of Board Member Anderson.
Item 2, we have none. Item 3, approval of minutes. The City Council has tasked the Design Review and Preservation Board with approving the final set of minutes from the now dissolved Design Review Board and Cultural Heritage Board. Because of this, 3 total sets of minutes were attached to the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes from the most recent DRPB meeting?
No.
Seeing none, the minutes from February 6 are approved as amended.
May I make just a brief statement? Or
Sure.
I just want to say that I am not listening to something outside of this room. This room presents a hearing challenge for me, so I'm using these as an assistive device.
I'm sorry, can I do all 3 of these minutes at the same time? Yes? Okay. Thank you. Are there any changes to the minutes for November 6th, February 6th, or July 17th? Seeing none, the minutes are approved as stated. Thank you. Recording Secretary, do we have any public comment on item 3?
If there are any members in the chamber who wish to make a public comment on item 3, approval of minutes, please make your way to the podium. Seeing none?
Thank you. Item 4, public comment. This is the time when any person may address matters not listed on this agenda, but which are within the subject matter of the jurisdiction. The public may comment on agenda items when the item is called. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes. Recording Secretary, do we have any public comment?
If there are any members of the public in the chambers wishing to speak on item 4, public comment on non-agenda items, please make your way to the podium. And I am seeing none.
Thank you. Public comment is closed. Item 5, Board Business 5.1, Statement of Purpose. The Design Review and Preservation Board serves as the city's authority on design review and historic cultural preservation. The board is charged with considering the location, design, site plan configuration, and the overall effect of proposed projects upon surrounding properties and the city in general, as well as considering proposed alterations to properties within the city's preservations district and designated landmarks. The board shall compare proposed projects to the general plan, any applicable specific plan, applicable zoning code standards and requirements, consistency of the project within the city's design guidelines, architectural criteria for special areas, the Secretary of the Interior standard for the treatment of historic properties, and other applicable city and state requirements. Item 5.2, board member reports. Are there any board member reports?
I guess I have one. So this is going to be my last Design Review and Preservation Board meeting. I'm resigning off of the board at the end of the year, so without there being any other meetings between now and the end of the year, this is my last meeting. So this makes, I think, almost 10 years. I think it'd be 10 years, maybe next May, maybe something in there, maybe February, March. So I just wanted to say I appreciate my time on the board. It's been great working with city staff and all my fellow board members over those years. I've been a board member, the vice chair, the chair, and so it's been really nice being on this board and also seeing the transition between the 2 separate boards and then merging us into one to be more effective and efficient in reviewing projects throughout the city that need subject matter experts like ourselves. And hopefully, I have found maybe some replacements for myself and the other architect who resigned earlier this year. So I just wanted to say thank you to staff, my fellow board members, and it's been a lot of fun, but I am going to be ridiculously busy next year. I was recently elected as the American Institute of Architects California president-elect, so that's going to keep me really busy next year and in 2027. So I just want to say thank you, and I hope we can find some nice replacements to work with you guys next year to bring subject matter expertise on architecture to the board moving forward. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Drew, for your service. You've been a real asset to this board, but I thought you couldn't leave until you found your replacement.
Yeah, I kind of thought so too, but it's starting right out of the gate for me, and I'm just not going to have time. So I hate to do that, but I think I found a replacement. I think I found one. So
Thank you.
Just got to get them hooked up.
Just kidding.
Chair, excuse me, I say a few words?
Sure.
Also, I've been had the pleasure to be on the board with Drew for 6 years now, and he was on the board before me. And yeah, I'd just like to thank him from me for helping me being on this board and learning the ropes of this, for educating me with good practice, best practices for architecture, for designing with dignity. Drew is just also want to say, as you heard, with him being active in AIA, the Architecture Society, he's very active in the community as well. He's really active with his kids, sports, scouts, lots of things. He is a real asset to the community and public servant. I just want to thank him on behalf of myself and the board. He's really, he's left a mark on this city, as you'll see from all of the development. That goes from everything from the big projects, controversial projects we've worked on, to the very, smaller but equally as important projects and development work that we've done here. And Drew has always taken this very seriously and held us to a very high standard, and held everyone to a high standard, including us, applicants, staff, and thanks for doing that, Drew. We'll see you around the town, but thanks so much from everyone. So,
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate that.
Recording Secretary, do we have any public comment on item 5.2, board member reports?
If there are any members of the public in the chambers who wish to make public comment on item 5.2, please make your way to the podiums. Seeing none.
Item 5.3, we have none. Item 6, department reports. Are there any reports from staff?
Yes, staff would just like to echo some of the board's comments. Drew has served on the DRPB and DRB for many years, generously sharing his time and expertise, and his contributions have helped shape the quality of design and preservation throughout Santa Rosa. And his presence on the board will truly be missed. So on behalf of the City of the Planning and Economic Development Department, thank you for your years of dedicated public service. We wish you all the best in your next chapter and hope you have a very happy and restful holiday season. So thank you again. But there are no other board member reports or department reports. Thank you.
Recording Secretary, do we have any public comment on item 6, Drew's farewell?
Thank you, Chair. If there are any members of the public wishing to make public comment on item 6, please make your way to the podium. Seeing none.
Thank you. Item 7, statements of abstention or recusals. Are there any statements of abstention or recusals from commissioners? Seeing none, thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, just quickly, if we could each get the board members to state whether you've visited the site, met with the applicant or any of the neighbors, and if you have any additional information from that to disclose.
That's not our ex parte. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're correct. I was ahead of myself.
Okay,
Sorry.
it's all right.
I thought, don't we do ex parte during the item? Or do you just
Yeah,
want
I
us to
got
do it
ahead of
now?
myself. I
Oh, you got it
apologize.
mixed up. Okay. I'm just like, wait, what?
Okay, item 8, consent items, we have none. Item 9, scheduled items. We're moving on to our scheduled item. Item 9.1, public hearing, Lago Fresca Apartments, Design Review, 2445 Summerfield Road, 4744 Hone Avenue, DR 22-037. Presented by Monet. And before we begin, I'd like to see if we have any ex parte disclosures on this item. So I'm going to start down there with Drew Weigel. Have you visited the site or spoken to the
I
applicant?
have not visited the site, nor have I made a special trip to the site. I did drive past it the other day coming back from soccer, and I did take a peek, but that's about it. I didn't make a special trip, so.
I did drive by the site and pulled over and took a quick look. I did not speak to anybody about it.
I'm familiar with this site. I have been passed as part of this review, and I have no other ex parte disclosures.
Yep, I'm familiar with the site. I did not make a special trip there for this review, and I don't have any other ex parte disclosures.
I did drive by the site. Thank you all. Now a presentation from the planner.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, board members. The project before you is Lago Fresca project. This is a design review for a 50-unit multifamily residential development on 2 parcels. Total area is 1.31 acres. The project includes 4 buildings that will range from 3 to 4 stories. On-site amenities include community room for gathering, a play structure, and outdoor seating area. This project has received a density bonus approval for the provided 4 very low-income affordable units with 2 concessions and 5 waivers. These units will be deed restricted for very low-income qualified individuals. Here is where the project site is located, shown with the red star within the southeast quadrant of the city. And here is the zone for this parcel, which is CO Office Commercial, consistent with our general planned land use designation. And as you can see, the location is almost at the corner of Summerfield and Hohen Avenue. A brief history of this project. In 2021, we hold a neighborhood meeting for the project. Following the year in 2022, the Design Review Board had this project as a concept item. And same year, the project was submitted and the notice was distributed. Last month, on November 12th, the director of the Planning and Economic Development Department approved the density bonus letter. And last Thursday, on December 11th, the Planning Commission approved the major conditional use permit. So here is where the site plan, the entrance for the site will be only from Hohen Avenue. The 4 buildings are Building A, Building B, and C, and Building D, which is the tallest building on the site. And here is the overall landscape plan for this project. As of the 47 trees on the site, 44 are proposed for removal, and the applicant is proposing to plant 47 trees with different sizes, and an in lieu fee of $2,100 also will be paid for the trees that cannot be mitigated. So just like I give you a background about this project, I have included this slide to show you in 2021, when the project was reviewed by you, how it was the look of it. And I will provide in the next slide with the comments that the board provided in that meeting. So during the 2022 meeting, the board provided comments about the limited open space and asked for a creative approach to common open spaces, addition of a child play area and requested additional bike racks on the site. Also, comments were provided about building heights and a recommendation to improve the architectural expression, articulation, and roof forms. Also, there were many comments about the design at that time, stating the design or look of the building looks too industrial. So the applicant has considered some of those comments, and this is how overall project looks like now. The applicant considered the comment that they have considered, I will just briefly go over them. They pushed the building D setback away from the street to provide common open space with amenities that includes a play structure and added 3 bicycle rack on site. Additionally, the applicant has made changes to the building design by expanding the color palette. Instead of only being the white color, they have added more colors, adding exterior vertical sidings, providing roof forms, railing, low slope eave overhangs, and oriel window elements. I will go over the elevations overall of project design. So here is building A elevation. We have building B here. Oops, I went too fast. Here is building C, and this is a building D, and as you can see, the open space, small one on the left, on the right side is the one along Summerfield Road. And here is the 3D view of this project, another 3D, and here is the street view. And this project has been reviewed in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, and it qualifies for a Class 32 exemption under Section 153032 as an infill development. About the comments, so since the project was notified in 2021, we have received several comments. So many of those comments and concerns were discussed during the Planning Commission meeting. So here I have only provided the comments that we have received related to design of this project. And I will provide the answer for those. One of the main comments that we have received is about height of the building, which does not fit within this neighborhood that is majority 1 or 2 story building. Staff response is that this site is zoned office commercial, which allows a maximum height of 35 feet. Only building D exceeds this limit at 45 feet. And under California's density bonus law, projects that include affordable units are eligible for waivers of development standards, including height limit. The inclusion of affordable units for this project qualifies it for this waiver, which is consistent with the intent of the state program to support affordable housing construction. And also we have received many comments about the project scale and density not being a good suit for this area. So staff response is that while this project is providing 4 new structures for residential, the density of the building and height are allowed under the zoning code and also under the state housing regulations. The project also has been reviewed for consistency with the general plan and found to be consistent with several general plan goals and policies for compact infill development. And I also, as mentioned, the project was presented to the Design Review Board as a concept, and comments were provided, and the applicant has considered some of those comments to make this building a better suit for this area. And with that, it is recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that Design Review Board and Design Review and Preservation Board by resolution approve a design review for Lago Fresco located at 2445 Summerfield Road and 47 Hohen Avenue. The applicant has also a presentation, and staff are available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we have the staff, the applicant presentation?
Hello, my name is John Anderson with Anderson Architecture and Planning. Also here today is Don McNair, the landscape architect, and Daleen Whitlock, the traffic engineer with W-Trans.
You can raise that stand up a little bit. There's a button on the side.
The owners and applicants are not able to present today, but we, the architects, would like to introduce them. The Lago Fresco partners, Oxa and Lago Fresca, are decades-long Santa Rosa and Sonoma County residents. Jan Verhali has lived in Sonoma County and Santa Rosa for 35 years. Until his retirement 2 years ago, he owned and operated a local construction company. Additionally, he has volunteered and served on many local boards for almost that entire time. The development partners have served in organizations focusing on homelessness, recovery from drugs and alcohol, and providing long-term sustainable housing for very low-income folks. The ownership of Lago Fresco has partnered together to own and operate several other apartment homes in Santa Rosa. As a group, they have focused on rehabbing existing multifamily and single-family homes to provide dignified and high-quality housing for working people. Lago Fresco is an extension of that mission. The project is their vision of a diverse middle housing community, attainable, smaller-scale housing, and includes 4 dwellings for very low-income qualifying residents. The project team has listened closely to and incorporated the commentary and concerns from the neighborhood, residents, and the members of the City Design Review Board, planning staff, and all referred departments. We have taken those suggestions and comments into account in the design and redesigned the project to demonstrate our resolve to make a project that is compatible and contextual with its neighborhood while remaining financially viable. So up the screen here, you can see some images of the project. This is from Hohen looking towards Summerfield, where the medical building's removed to show those facades. Okay, next. This is the site plan. You can see that the parking was designed to be interior of the project to limit the views of the parking from the streets, and landscaping is provided surrounding the perimeter of the project to buffer the views from the streets of the buildings. This is from traffic study showing available parking in green along Hohen Avenue off-site that supplements the on-site parking in this project. And this site plan shows the existing trees that are going to be removed as part of this development. And here we have the new tree locations that are being they're being replaced with, as well as bioretention areas and representatives of the site fence. This is the landscape architect site plan, additionally showing shrubs and ground cover and box sizes of the trees to be installed. This view is also on Hohen Avenue looking towards Summerfield, showing the building in context. And this is on Summerfield looking north. This shows the driveway for the commercial development surrounding the project that isn't part of the project or accessed by the project. And here again, we are at Summerfield looking north, showing Building D and the open space in front of it between the building and the street. And this is looking directly at the project from Summerfield Road, showing the brick wall, fence wall there, and the pedestrian entry. And this is the entry, the vehicular entry on Hohen for the project. And some shadow studies midday at different times of the year to show that the shadows are remaining on site mainly, and the open space of the southeast corner remains open to the sun. This is the interior parking lot showing the surrounding buildings, A, B, C, and D. And next slide, you can see it from an aerial view. You can better see how the buildings surround the parking lot and the neighboring parking lot in front of Building A. And this is from the veterinaries building, looking at the back of Building B and C, showing how the massing is broken up and the vertical planes are articulated with bay windows and such. And this is a view from Hohen and Summerfield intersection, showing the project beyond the veterinary building. And then the final slide here, I believe, is the image, bird's eye from Summerfield. So you can see the open space that's provided in front of Building D to buffer it from the street. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the end of your presentation. Would someone like to make a motion so that we can ask questions?
So the motion would be prior to making comments. Now would be a time for any questions for staff or the applicant, and then we would need to open the public hearing.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for board or staff? For the applicant or staff?
I just have a question. I know the answer, but I want to ask it so everybody can understand it. So in the, where is it? In the parking management plan, on the drawing, there's an abbreviation that says approximate location of RRFB. Can we tell everybody what an RRFB is?
Rapid flash, okay, hold on. Rapid flash, I have to read it completely. Beacon is a crosswalk with the advance warning, but the abbreviation is for rapid, oh my God, RF.
I'll help you, Monet. My name is Daleen Whitlock. I'm the traffic engineer that prepared the traffic study, and it stands for Rapid Rectangular Rapid Flashing Beacon.
Cool.
And it's a safety device that goes with a crosswalk when it's not covered by a signal or a stop sign.
Cool, thank you very much. That's the only question I had. It's just because it speaks to kind of the safety of the space, and if members of the public didn't know what that was, I thought I'd help them out.
Do you have questions?
A few questions. Things for the applicant. There's a little bit of a different look of the yellow between the renderings and the elevations, and I know sometimes rendering. I'm wondering basically which one is the true color. Yeah, that's probably. Yeah.
A little difficult to tell without the images in front of me, but the colors are open for a final review as we get into CDs, of course.
I don't know if it's possible to pull up.
Yeah.
I
Can
think
you
probably
speak
the
more
rendering-
into the microphone, please?
I think probably the renderings are going to represent it best there.
The
3D.
renderings?
Yeah.
And then another question, the building B, the two car garage, are those partition walls between the parking stalls, or is that a curb? There's a line there, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, can you bring that plan view up? I think. Yeah. So, the parking is separated into 3 groups of parkings, right?
And
with just striping between the parking spaces.
yeah, is that just striping, not a wall?
Right.
Okay. And then what about the exterior decks where there's shared units? Is there a privacy wall between those or not?
Yes, there's a wall.
Okay. And then, the little bump outs, you can see it on the Hohen Avenue entrance. Are those bump outs in the floor, or are those bump outs really in the wall, but the windows set
With
back?
the bay windows, yeah, the floor extends into the bays. Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's it. Thanks.
Any other questions of the applicant or staff? Yes? Okay.
I'm wondering if the city has considered putting striping in front of the driveway that says "keep clear," so that when everything is backed up and people are trying to turn into the development, there would actually be a potential for people to stay back and let traffic come in and out.
So we have our traffic engineer, Mike Van Medi, on Zoom. He can answer traffic-related questions also. Let's get him.
Thank you. He is currently being promoted.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to be put as a panelist. It is something that we could consider. It could potentially be part of improvement plans. As of right now, my understanding is it's not in the traffic study, but it is certainly something that we can look at in the future.
Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant or staff? No? Okay.
Oh, I actually have another question, sorry, to help members of the public. So Jessica or Monet, can you please explain how the city gets their hands tied by a California mandated density bonus?
Thank you, board member, for that question. So as Monet stated in her presentation, this project included a request for a density bonus, which is a process through the state density bonus law. So with the addition of the 4 very low income units, which will be deed restricted, the applicant is given the ability to increase density and is provided the opportunity for concessions and waivers. In order to deny a density bonus, there are certain findings that have to be made by the jurisdiction. Those include, the first is that the project would not result in an identifiable and actual cost reduction to providing affordable units. The second is that the project would have specific adverse and unavoidable impact on public health and safety. The third is that the project would have an adverse impact on a property that is listed on the California Register of Historical Resources. Or 4, that the project would be contrary to local, state, or federal law. And those findings would have to be based on substantial evidence provided in the record. And to date, we do not have any substantial evidence to support any of those findings.
Thanks, and I was just going to say, in my own experience, so I've sat on the other side of this table as well as an applicant. Density bonus is very, very challenging to put items in the record to refute them, I guess is the point that I'm trying to make. So a lot of times when we talk about density bonus, and it's across the entire state of California, it's not just limited here to Santa Rosa, right? When a project goes after a density bonus, there's really not much a local jurisdiction can do to alter that pathway, I guess is what I'm going to say. So if the concessions were reduction in parking, or if the concessions were building height, or if the concessions were additional density for the parcel, like beyond, if the parcel's zoned for 40 units and they go for 45, right? There's not much the local jurisdiction can do to go against those items as mandated by the state law that it relates to. So just I think it's important to understand that in the context of land use and planning when we talk about projects that have density bonus. And then of course the density bonus impacts the design of the building, right? Because you either have more units or you have to deal with reduced parking or many other factors that are related to it. So they're all kind of interconnected. So I thought it'd be important we haven't had a density bonus project in a little while, and so anyway. So thank you.
I have one other architectural question, which is the bedrooms all seem to have a similar window configuration where there's one narrow tall operable window and then big wide window. Are those, I couldn't find anything that showed dimensions. Are those smaller operable windows sufficient for egress?
You have to, I'm sorry, you have to speak into the microphone.
Yes, of course, egress will be accounted for in the windows in all the bedrooms.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions before I open public hearing?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to open the public hearing. Recording secretary.
For members of the public who are in the chambers and wish to make a public comment on item 9.1, please make your way to the podium, and we will be utilizing both east and west lecterns. We will allow up to 3 minutes for each public comment, and you may state your name for the record if you so choose. We will go ahead and start with the east lectern, which is on this side. Thank you.
I don't know, is east me? Okay, last week when we were here, the public comment was 100% against this project. You voted unanimously for the project. But I understand today is about design review. When I was in high school, I took a civics class, and they taught me that government's main responsibility is keeping people safe. Then I went and got a BA in political science, and strangely enough, the professors all said the same thing. The main purpose of government is to keep the population safe. But alas, this is about design review. So let's talk about design review. There is one place of ingress and egress for 50 units. You say 65 cars, there'll probably be more like 75 to 100 cars. People will not go right when they come out of the thing. They'll go left to go downtown, to go to the freeway. Last week, the woman from the traffic thing said you can't legislate good behavior. No, but when warned about what the probabilities are of people coming out of that one place of ingress and egress, you can assume what's going to happen. Now, what I'm going to say now is not a threat, it's a promise. When people, if this abomination is approved, there will be accidents. And when people are seriously injured or unfortunately killed, we who are still around will make sure that the attorneys representing those people know that you were warned and you are named as defendants.
Thank you. And we're just resetting the timer, and then we'll go ahead and proceed with the west podium.
Good evening, Board. Janice Carmen here. I was at the Planning Commission as well, and I'm coming up with more units. I'm not clear on exactly how many units there's supposed to be, but the figure that was sticking in my mind from last week is 1.5 cars per unit. Now, there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 unit structures in the buildings, and there's limited car parking. So somebody brought up, and I thought this was a good point, if one of those, or any of those units, they could be like 4 single people living in them, they could have 4 cars. So it immediately multiplies the cars that would be supposedly housed there. Now, I'd just like to notice you on the fact that across the street, my parents built the house, the first house there. They actually sold the easement partly to the city for the bridge onto Stonehenge, which is just a half a block away. I walked every day to Montgomery High School. I still wear my ring. And I walked to Herbert Slater as well, through walnut fields, because that's what was there then. So coming down Hone, hitting Summerfield Road, it's a very dangerous corner, and it's a hard turn to make around the corner there. Now, today I was noticing the architect was speaking about the trees, and I think the trees should be identified as what trees are being cut. And I don't think $100 is enough, because just the replacement of trees have a very huge, varied structure and capabilities and union with other trees so that they support each other. So when you take trees out, there's other things that happen. For example, I'm personally associated with collapsing structures around the area. And as I said, there were very old walnut trees there before they took them down to build Warwick Hospital. My mother walked 2 times to have 2 babies at Warwick Hospital. I'm really familiar with this property. And the parking is one issue. The other is what the gentleman before me brought up about going in and going out of the driveways. I have a hard time envisioning this, and usually I can picture things really well, but he moved fast, Monet moved fast through the presentation, and it was sort of like watching a video. You know, you couldn't really like see that well, and then you're trying to follow what they're saying, especially if they're dropping their voice at the end of a sentence on the presentation boards. So
I'm sorry, it's time for the next speaker.
okay, well, anyway, those points.
Yes, my name is Michael Ann Blatt. I reside at 2318 Sierra Creek Circle. I'd like to know when the traffic study was done, what time of the day. I have noticed that between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m., and then again between 3 p.m. and 6 or 7 p.m., you cannot make a left-hand turn out of Sierra Creek Lane, which is on the east side of Santa Rosa Post-Acute. I do know the young man that was killed there or died as a result of the accident, Mr. Attica Pearson, and I'm concerned about all the extra cars that are going to be in this development. I have almost been hit twice head-on because of people upset about the traffic being backed up on Hohen Avenue, and it would have been a head-on. And when there are large events at the fairgrounds, we have the same problem of traffic backed up in both directions, east and westbound. The speed limit is 35 miles an hour. People do not follow it. I mean, they're going 40 and 45 on that street. They will not stop if you step off the street. We now have the flashing crosswalks for, we call Atticus's light, but it doesn't help. Many unhoused people live in the creek in the Green Strip between Wailupa and Summerfield Road. What's going to happen if we have to be evacuated because they've started a fire in that Green Strip? Because the city does not keep it tilled, cut, or anything else. We have to send weed abatement orders. I just don't think a monstrosity complex should be built in that area. The traffic pattern cannot handle it. How many people are we going to have to kill before somebody gets that idea? I was against this project before in 22 when I got the postcard, and I'm totally against it now. Something needs to be safe there. Speed limit and more units to live in is not going to do it. There are places all over town that are vacant lots that are huge. You could build all of these. Now, I don't know how many of you have driven by there or been in that backed up traffic, but I have more than once. The other day, it took me 45 cars going by, and I was trying to go home. Has anybody else had that problem on the board? Do I hear a yes or a no? No replies? I guess you don't care about the safety of everybody then. You only care about dollars. Thank you.
Melanie? Can I say something real quick? It'll be real quick. I think while we appreciate all of your comments, we absolutely do. The purpose of public comment is for you guys to state your things to us, and you get 3 minutes to do it. We're not supposed to engage with you in that process. So, I mean, I absolutely appreciate what you're saying, but I thought it'd be helpful to just maybe clarify that again. Yeah. So, but thank you again for all your comments, but we're not supposed to engage, so.
And we'll go ahead and proceed with the west podium, please.
Oh, that's me. So I guess I just learned, this is new for me, that can engage. So you guys can engage, so that's good that I know that now. I just wrote down a couple things. One thing I realized seeing the slides is we like to talk, and I guess it's California state law, about how there's 4 very low affordable units, and I find that ironic that they just kept saying that but kind of glossed over the other, 46 units that were there. My name is Grant, I'm a Bennett Valley resident. I'm in favor of reducing the amount of units and increasing the parking on the 1.3 acre proposed parcel. Maximizing rental units, minimizing parking spaces is strictly a business decision to maximize profits, right or wrong. A quick drive down Hoan will show many multifamily properties with far less units on similar sized plots of land. All the parking out on the street is all filled up. I see people crossing the street all the time over there. Imagine if you quadruple the amount of units. It's going to be an issue. Who in the design and planning division will be held accountable when someone is hit, not necessarily if, but when, trying to cross the street to get to their vehicle, especially if it's parked on the neighborhood on the Summerfield side? I've seen no mention of people parking over there, but there's some big development that went on into Windsor on Shiloh Road, and it's very easy. A quick drive through, we'll see that there's cars parked all over the place, people crisscrossing. That's going to be an issue too. The city should be able to find a common ground between corporate profit and affordable housing. Minimizing the units and increasing parking for residents is a great start for overall safety. Let both sides get a win. This seems like the only logical solution. Thank you for your time.
Ready for me? So, my name is Steve Schwartz, and I own an office across the street on Hoan Avenue. I've owned it for about 38 years, so I've definitely viewed the traffic patterns in that area. One of my concerns is primarily what this current design, the traffic safety issue that the design presents. One of the problems with the traffic analysis is that the actual data related to circulation was obtained in August of 2021, 4.5 years ago. That was at a time when we were still under the impact of the pandemic. So the traffic was, really, really very limited in that period of time. In addition, in August, schools were closed. So that I really feel that data that was collected then doesn't really reflect an accurate assessment of what's going on in that intersection. Even with that inaccuracy, the study does point out, as we've been talking about here, that the entrance to the project is only 150 feet from the intersection at Hoan and Summerfield, and that during even 4.5 years ago, the cars trying to turn left onto Summerfield as they're going east, in 2 left turn lanes, we're stacking up 188 feet according to the traffic analysis. So that does block the entrance to the project, and it's even worse now than it was then, so that you can see how difficult it would be to safely enter and exit into the project. So I really think that we should think about other designs that might move that entrance a little further, either a little further to the west. There is a little room there, but there's a building there now. And that we could also consider other entrances or exits on Summerfield to try to mitigate some of this traffic. The other problem is that the analysis even indicates that the traffic trips per day that were generated were based just on the dwelling unit number rather than the bedrooms. And we have 4, 3, and 2 bedroom units. And in fact, at the Planning Commission meeting, they stated that in the sober units, there might be 2 individuals per 4 bedrooms. That's 8 people in each of the 4 bedroom units. So it doesn't seem right that the traffic analysis should not consider the types of dwellings that are involved. So I'm asking for a new traffic study and considering the redesign. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is Mindy Shamba, and I'm a resident of Bennett Valley. My comments tonight are focused entirely on public safety. These concerns are not about whether housing is needed, but avoiding preventable risk. We all know what everybody said about the traffic study being outdated, but I also wanted to point out during that time, new bike lanes were installed on Summerfield Road, and that changed traffic patterns and interactions that wasn't included in this traffic study. Last week, Commissioner Sanders stated that traveling westbound out of the project would feel like playing Frogger. This underscores that existing conditions are already risky. Reduced setbacks, increased traffic, nearby driveways further amplify potential conflicts with pedestrians, cyclists, and vehicles. I also wanted to point out the firefighter addressed evacuation risks last week, but during previous wildfire emergencies, both cell service and Comcast was out. People did not rely on those emergency to evacuate. They just evacuated. Increasing density without accounting for these realities increases evacuation risk. Good design should reduce risk, not amplify it. Thank you.
My name is Rebecca Hopper. I live at 4739 Devonshire Place. I live about a block from where this development is being proposed. There are several things that I heard as I walked my neighborhood yesterday. And many of those things have been brought up tonight. One of the things that I heard is the timing of these public hearings that nicely put in the middle between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's the holiday season. A lot of people are traveling. A lot of people wish they could be here tonight, wish they could have been there last week, but many of them didn't know about it. There was not enough public notification. On my block, half the people knew and half the people didn't know. I want to thank Monet because for the last week I have pestered her with emails asking questions and having her send me links so I could research things a little bit. And when I looked at the disclosure form, I noticed that the architectural firm was actually in my neighborhood, which made me curious. So I clicked on that, and I saw who the people were in the firm. And then I thought, well, I'll go see who's on the Design Review and Preservation Board. So I went to that website, and so I see that 5 of the 6 people are here this evening. The one who is not here is Ingrid Anderson, who there is an Ingrid Anderson that is listed with the architectural firm that is doing this project. I don't know if, I am assuming her absence, although I thought they said everyone was here, the whole board was here, is due to a recusal on her part. I know you're not supposed to answer my question, but I'm putting it out there. The other concerns I heard from my neighbors, density immediately came up. the fact that it is way too many apartments for 1.3 acres. The height, all the concessions that were given, you know, the density increase allowance, the height waiver, the parking waiver, so there's only 63 parking spots on site. And I figured, I added up, you know, how many 4-bedroom apartments, all of that, and I'm thinking, well, there's got to be, at a minimum, 142 vehicles that are going to need to park. So another thing that seemed to be addressed in something I read was, well, that extra there's lots of street parking. Well, there's no street parking on Summerfield.
I'm sorry, your time is up.
What's that?
Your 3 minutes are over.
All right.
We need to move on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Yes.
We'll go ahead and proceed
Too bad I didn't get
with the member
to
over
my
on
overall
the west
concern, which had to do
podium.
with traffic hazards and how the death of Atticus Pearson has haunted me for years.
Okay, we need to move on to the next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is George Stenger. I reside on Stonehenge Drive. And I would just like to make a comment to reinforce concern about traffic safety. I did a traffic study myself in October of 2017 at 3 a.m. when we tried to evacuate from Stonehenge Drive. Summerfield Road was bumper to bumper stopped. We don't need more people and more cars trying to negotiate that area unless we can do something with our infrastructure. Can we build a new road? I don't think so. But what's the answer? It's not infill development without consideration for public safety. Thank you.
We can proceed with the member of the public at the west podium. Sir? Oh, sorry, there's one.
This is West. This is West. My name's Robert Ostling. I also live on Stonehenge, very close to Summerfield Road, very close to this project. Again, my wife and I moved there just 2 years ago. I heard one neighbor walking by, welcoming us to the community, talking about this project that had been set aside. And it didn't come up again. And so it was not, in my headlights until we got the postcard and saw the sign put up across the street. And I have been canvassing part of the neighborhood in the last couple of days. I found many people who had strong concerns of opposition. They wanted to attend this meeting. They couldn't. It's the holidays, they had obligations, and it's been proposed that this was a little bit of a conspiracy to make sure that there was very little focus on this project, knowing that there is opposition. A lot of people have talked about the traffic. I don't want to paraphrase them because I think it's been covered. I want to talk about design. So my major concern with design was I balked when I saw that 45-foot new criteria concession. I think they're calling it a concession, earned somehow by just building a minimum number of very low-income units. And I think it's being exploited. But I learned something here today that I did not know. Having read these minutes many, many times, I missed any reference to a fourth story. As a matter of fact, when I drove down here from on Sonoma Avenue, I was looking at the typical apartments in Santa Rosa, in southeast Santa Rosa. They are universally two-story buildings. I looked to see if I was missing something. Maybe there is a three-story building. How about that place across from Whole Foods, the one with the really interesting architecture, the co-housing? It's got something that might stand 45 feet up there. Turns out, from the website, I learned that their housing is 2 units. So if we look at density, the density of this 1.3 acre parcel, which, by the way, is exactly the same area of a football field, with 50 units, the density calculation, very simple, is 38. There's the first metric. It's a density of 38. Compare it to what I just mentioned, the co-housing. They have 29 units, but they have 1.5 acres of property. Let's look at what's proposed along Montgomery, where there's going to be 162 units proposed. Theirs calculates out at a density of, I think it was 18. So there's a great discrepancy with what's in the community now and what's being proposed elsewhere. I just can't understand. How am I doing on time? I also wanted to, I'm out, but I wish somebody would decide how to spell fresco in this. Just once, not fresca, fresco. You learn some Spanish.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and proceed to the east podium.
My name is Ahmad Ahmadi, and I live off of Hohen Avenue. A few years ago, I inquired about this property for purpose of the investment. At that time, they told me 10 to 12 unit of the townhome can be built. I don't know how it ended up with 50. But anyway, I'm sure that planner has considered all the city ordinance and the restriction and so that's not the issue. Issue, as everybody else is pointing out, is the matter of safety. I really don't know how many parking space, first of all, you guys have there exactly. I didn't catch that. But obviously, 50 unit of apartment houses is going to have a couple hundred people and at least 100 cars. And how this area is going to accommodate that. I appreciate that you guys all of you driven by that place. But I don't know what time of day you went and how long did you stop there and to observe the traffic and so. Today I was coming through the same road. I'd see any open space for people to park of those extra that they're going to be from that apartment. And the traffic was backed up all the way to Yulupa, straight line. So just think about this in the matter of emergency. That is our main concern, all of us, that what will happen if we have an emergency, if we have a disaster, how these people are going to get out. Even the people in that complex, how they are going to get out of one driveway with 50, 60, 100 cars. I don't know how many cars will be in that. And east side of the Summerfield, there are a lot of senior people live in that area, old folks like me, none of them old as I am, but anyway. But how they are going to get out there? They can't get out and run or ride their bicycle or their motorcycle. How they are going to go through that traffic that time? Think about that. And I'd like to see if such a thing if happened, that disaster we have, an emergency, and God forbid somebody got hurt. Who is going to come and accept the responsibility of approving that project? Any of you folks, or who is in charge of it? Anyway, that's all I have to say. I hope that we'll consider all the safety of the people in that area. Thank you for your time.
And it looks like we have one more over at the west podium. Please continue.
Hi, my name is Iris Ostling, and I also live on Stonehenge Drive near Summerfield. Just as an aside, on the way here, I had to stop twice for the light at Summerfield and Yulupa because the cars were backed up so much, and that's typical. I wanted to bring up one thing. I don't want to reiterate everything that everyone else has said, but there's also going to be built the Southwest Greenway, which is about half a block from this project. Has anyone addressed what that is going to do to the traffic in addition to this? Hopefully people want to come and go from the park. It's the same road. We're all talking about the same road. I believe that the easiest solution, we're not all NIMBYs here, but we are concerned with safety and traffic. And if the project were just reimagined as 2 stories, I think it would solve a lot of these problems, and that might be the simplest solution. Thank you.
Hello. I'd just like to tell you that I have some strong roots around there where this project will be developed. I developed 20 acres from Summerfield Road up to the church going up Hohen Avenue. And I own the houses from Hohen Avenue to Stonehenge. And I'm very interested in what's going on. And I can tell you for a fact, we're not dealing with Hohen Avenue, we're dealing with Highway 12. It filters into the Highway 12, and most of the traffic goes right through that area. And I'm surprised that it hasn't been brought up, that that is a very heavily used artery. And I can tell you for a fact, it's just not going to work. If any of you go down there and park your car there in the morning during the commute hour or in the afternoon when they're coming home, you would see for yourself how congested and impacted it is. And I know if you did that, you'd have a different feeling. I didn't want to get into this, but I think it's a mistake what's being done. It's going to come back to hurt us later. That's all I have to say.
If there are any other members of the public wishing to make public comment, seeing no further individuals making their way to the podiums.
And I'd like to close the public hearing. Would someone like to make a motion here? Oh.
That's all right. Before you make your motion and make comments, if there are any questions, further questions to either staff or the applicant from the public comment, we can do that at this time.
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
I do have a couple of questions. I got to digging in a little bit while the members of the public were speaking. So something confused me in here. So I went and I looked at the determination that was passed by the Planning Commission, which included the concession or the waiver for a reduction from 50 covered parking spaces to 38. I saw that. And so just so everybody knows too, so in our zoning code, the City of Santa Rosa zoning code, every time you have a housing unit is required to have 1 covered parking space, and then it either has a fractional piece depending on how many bedrooms it has, right? So if it's a studio, it's 0.5. If it's a 1 bedroom, I think it's like 1.5, and then there's, it goes up from there, and it's in the zoning code. So, and it's on the cover page of the architectural plan set. So where I got confused is we have this waiver for a reduction in covered parking, but we don't have any other reductions in parking associated with the density bonus. And so on the cover page of the architectural set, the architect put together the parking analysis based on the City of Santa Rosa's zoning code, which includes market rate items and below market rate items. And that adds up to 108 parking stalls on this cover sheet. And then it references Government Code 65915, State Density Bonus Law, which has different parking calculations, as we kind of stated earlier. And that says 72 for the State Density Bonus Law. But then somehow we got down to 63. So I'm confused about that. So maybe we get some clarity. That'd be helpful.
Sure, I can explain that to you. So without asking a concession, if the project provides density bonus, they can qualify for different ratio of the parking under state law. With calculating that, the applicant would get 72 parking without requesting a concession for additional parking reduction. So the applicant has requested a concession for a public parking reduction beyond what the zoning code and the state regulation allows. Does that make sense?
This actually does make sense then, because I was trying to do the math, right? And you're going from 50 to 38, that's 12, but then 72 to 63 is only 9. So I was like, wait a second. So the math wasn't mathing, as we say to my kids sometimes. So it sounds to me like what the applicant did is they used the baseline density bonus law and actually just requested a reduction of 9 total, but because of the design configuration of the buildings, they had to take it out of the covered requirement, and that's what's getting kind of baked into the waiver. Is that correct, kind of more or less?
Correct. So
Okay.
if the applicant had to provide 72 parking spaces on site, they would not need to request for a concession for the parking reduction. The 72 parking would fulfill the state requirement for affordable housing without asking for a concession.
Okay, yeah, perfect, cool. So that answers that. And then the other question I had, as I was digging through W-Trans's report, and then I remembered this from when we originally saw the project. So the original project had 6 affordable units, and now we're talking about 4 affordable units. I think the applicant isn't here, right? Just the architecture team, correct?
Correct.
So we probably won't get a great answer, but I'm kind of curious. I'm assuming it has to do with the economics of the construction as to why it changed, but.
I can also respond to that question. The applicant needed 2 concessions. One was for locating all the affordable units in one building and also for the parking reduction. The 6-unit low income would not give them the 2 concessions. Therefore, they had to provide 10% very low income to qualify for 2 concessions. With the other one, they would provide 6 units, which would not meet the minimum requirement to get 2 concessions.
So the 4 units are very low income versus 6-unit, like moderate or low income. Okay, cool. I missed that. All
And
right, that
just to
clarifies that.
respond, this 10% is a minimum requirement from the state. Like 10% low income, he would qualify for those concessions and unlimited waivers.
I think I just missed the classification of the low income being provided, right? Because there's a big long chart in the state law that has all the different classifications, and then the percentage changes based on that. Clearly, I've done density bonus affordable housing because I know what it looks like. But I missed that part, so thank you. Those were my only questions.
Does anyone else have questions? Sure. No. Okay.
Just comment, we have our fire department, Assistant Fire Marshal Mike Johnson here also. If there are any questions about the fire code related questions, he can answer them.
Seeing none. I need to have a motion, please.
I'll make a motion proposing a resolution of the Design Review and Preservation Board of the City of Santa Rosa approving the design review for the Lago Fresco project, a 50-unit multifamily residential development located at 2445 Summerfield Road and 4744 Hohen Avenue, assessors parcel number 014-361-028 and -029, file number DR 22-037, parentheses PRJ 22-019, close parentheses, and I will waive further reading of the text.
We need a second.
Second.
Thank you.
We can take comments now.
Now we can take comments.
If you want me to go first, that's cool. But, I mean, somebody else can go first.
Would you like to make?
I'm the lucky one? Okay. I'll start with a few comments. First comment is, I've only been on the design review board for less than a year now, and it's the most complete set I've seen and been able to review, so I really appreciate all the information. I obviously am focusing my comments, as I've learned, on my job, which is looking at the design. One of the things, there's been a lot of conversation about the location. One of the things that I would like to say positively about the location is that, it's usually not an opportunity for people to be able to live near one of our best city parks in Annandale. Usually that's not an affordable option for most young families in Santa Rosa. I know for me, when I moved to Santa Rosa, that was my hope, and that wasn't possible. So to, I guess, put another take on the location, I'm hoping that this provides opportunity for families to be able to bike or walk or run to one of our best city parks. Couple other comments. I'm obviously reviewing what the Design Review Board reviewed a couple years ago in 2022, right? And one of the comments was about this 4-story unit. I appreciate the design update and that it's located sort of in, I think, the best, least impactful place on the site, not facing directly on Summerfield or Hohen. So those are some positives. I really like the articulation. One elevation facing, I should have this ready to go. One of the elevation felt like it could use a little more articulation. I should have had that prepared, located, so I'll pull that up as we're talking. But otherwise, I appreciated the more massing that was done since the original review. The covered garages, a comment I'll make on the design is that they're really slender walls and columns on essentially what we call in the structural engineering world a soft story. In other words, that when you don't have walls at the bottom story, you need to provide lateral resistance or seismic forces in another way. And so I'd make the comment that something about that will need to be addressed at the garage face, whether that be stiff walls or frames in that part of the design. One, this is sort of a landscape fencing comment, that I noticed that the kind of bigger brick wall was planned for facing Summerfield, I believe, and then it doesn't extend around the corner. It appears that it's just more of a neighborhood fence, I think is what it's called. And a comment or a thought is that, I'm guessing that was decided partially for cost reasons or other design reasons. One consideration is to continue that, we'll call it more soundproof, more security-proof fence, at least through the portion that covers the outdoor playground area and common area. And Another comment about I think the architect said that the elevation bump outs will be accessible, which I think creates a lot of nice articulation to the massing. But I'll just make the comment that if the actual floor is extended out, that's a lot more challenging and costly than if it was more of a architectural feature with the floor just flush inside the building. Yeah. So just as a final clarification, I think it's that northeast elevation view was the only elevation that I thought maybe could use a little more articulation, not necessarily a full bump out, but was the only elevation to me that Maybe could use a little more life. Otherwise, I thought it was a really good update from the previous version. And then also, I do the color. I definitely like the version on the color renderings better than the actual 3D renderings. The 3D renderings I didn't like, but if the actual color is more that mustard, for lack of a better word, I like that better. So those are my only comments for now.
Thank you. Adam.
Thank you, Chair. I did get to see this when this came before the board in 2022. It's good to see this come back and to see it evolve from what was originally proposed. Thank you. Thank you to staff for the presentation. Thanks to the applicants that have been able to attend today for the presentation and for explaining to the neighborhood and to us. And thank you for all of your outreach and for being willing to answer questions on this. To reference the Design Review Board's comments from a few years ago, I feel that this is a good response to concerns and suggestions we had before. A couple of them, in terms of the adjustment of the articulation and the coloring, the proposed colors. I do feel that this is more referencing some of the residential character of the neighborhood. Before, one of my critiques was that it was referencing a little more of the commercial or kind of the medical campus nature of some of the area around there. This is more referencing the residential side of things, and I actually think this is going to recede a little bit more into the neighborhood than it did before. Thank you for rejiggering the open spaces and for adding in additional amenities. But I'd also like to commend the applicant for including the very low income and going for the density bonus, but also for I was very curious about the clustering of the units and the rationale behind that too. And with that I was able to tease out some of the programmatic aspects of what is hoping to be done on this site too. And I feel that is going to be, and that's one of the kind of the intangible, but will be very tangible benefits of a development like this, and that residential developments in general can have, is that they do provide housing, but this is also going to be providing 4 units of a sober living environment of people that are trying to transition and to be functioning members of society. And this is a great way to integrate into neighborhoods and to developments too. So I think that's using the density bonus with that rationale is a great aspect of this project, and I wanted to highlight that, so kudos for that. This area of town is evolving. This I believe, is going to fit into the existing character of the neighborhood. It's going to be adding in a number of units and be adding more people into the neighborhood. But as my colleague Drew mentioned, the neighborhoods around the city necessarily are going to be evolving and changing. And it was a great point of this is providing not just single-family residences in the neighborhood, but providing a large variety of units for families, for people starting out. There's a lot of different aspects here. We need all types of housing around here. So kudos for that as well on this. I guess for just a few more design components, interesting point about the extending the masonry wall around the open public areas. Not necessarily I see that from a safety standpoint, but I could see that as being a nice way to kind of button up going on the around the corner for that public area, and it's just a line of parking and a parking lot over on the south side of the site. So potentially there could be something that creates a little bit more space to define that too. I also know that masonry walls are very expensive and wooden fences are more affordable. So, but a great suggestion there. Overall, I'm satisfied with the updates and the revisions, and thank you for bringing this back. And yeah, thanks very much.
Thank you. Cher, do you have any comments?
Well, I wasn't on the board when this project came the first time, but I did go back and take a look at it. So to the applicant, I really appreciate the revised color palette. I do feel really strongly that the colors that are shown at the bottom, at the very end of the project plans, the architectural plans, are much more pleasing than what's shown in the elevations. I also like the articulation of the building and particularly appreciate the oriel windows. Those are big favorites of mine. The views on A5.6, the two views from Hohen and from Summerfield, those, I agree, could use quite a bit more articulation. I don't know if we're past that point, but they are kind of monolithic. I'd like clarification from staff, if possible, about our purview around the traffic issue. Is that something that we, as design review, really have purview over?
So thank you for the question. I would say that as it relates to the findings that have to be made for design review, you can certainly ask questions and ask for clarification. I do want to emphasize what has already been stated, that the density bonus application and the conditional use permit have both been approved, and the traffic analysis has been reviewed in regards to that. And the findings were made by the Planning Commission accepting that.
So sorry, I think what Cher's kind of maybe asking is, so the CEQA determination was made by the Planning Commission as it relates specifically to the traffic study, the conditional use permit, and more or less the plot plan, correct?
That is correct.
Is that kind of what you're asking? Okay, cool.
I do feel that the traffic study, having been done during the pandemic, may not be giving information that's appropriate now, and I would be in favor of an updated study. Those are my comments.
So I would like to clarify that there was an addendum done, and Monet may be able to speak to that, or Mike Van Mitty, who's on the line.
There was an addendum done provided by December 1st, which is attached to your document. W-Trans, who has prepared that addendum, and the traffic study is here, and they can talk on that addendum. And also our traffic engineer, Mike Van Mitty, is also online, on Zoom, who can respond to your comments about the date of this report that was prepared. So, would you like the applicant explain about the addendum first? Okay, Daylene.
Good evening. My name is Daylene Whitlock. I'm a principal with W-Trans here in Santa Rosa, and we prepared the traffic studies both in 2023 and again in 2025. I want to note that the traffic volumes that we used in our traffic study were from 2019. They were pre-COVID. For the most part, volumes have not yet returned to pre-COVID levels. So the analysis that was performed, it wasn't based on post-COVID counts, it was based on pre-COVID counts for the operations side. The parking side, on the other hand, was done post-COVID, and as a lot of people had begun working at home, the parking occupancy would be higher. So that would be conservative as well. The issues that are covered in the traffic study are generally not going to change over time. The things that are covered under CEQA are whether or not the project is consistent with policies and plans for pedestrians, bicycles, transit. That doesn't change pre-COVID, post-COVID. That doesn't change. It either is or it isn't consistent with policies. The vehicle miles traveled doesn't change over time. It has to do with the density and the location of the site. Whether or not hazards are introduced, and that really wouldn't change because we looked at sight lanes, we looked at need for turn lanes. All of that stuff would be the same basically before or after. And then finally, emergency response. And that is not what can they get out during an emergency, it's can an emergency response vehicle get in to their site and serve them for emergency response. So all of those things are basically would be unchanged. And as a matter of fact, that's what the addendum covers, is that we re-looked at all the issues that are appropriate under CEQA to see whether or not any of those would need to be updated as a result of the changes in the project since we did the initial study. Normally, what people are concerned about and what you're hearing a lot of here tonight is about operations, which is not a traffic impact study under California law anymore.
And Daleen, I just wanted to highlight one thing you said right at the beginning there, that you were using the 2019 traffic load, which is higher than the load that is actually today. So if you did the traffic, if you analyze the volumes today, we have not gone back to pre-COVID level traffic load, is what you're saying.
Right. I mean, when we do new
so there
traffic
was more
counts,
traffic before than there is now.
Yes.
Okay.
Generally. I mean, there's going to change from place to place, but
excuse me, I wanted to highlight that Daleen was referencing the data that was used, so this was the information, so thank you.
when we do counts over time and look back at a location, we are still going back and finding that we use traffic counts from 2018 or 19 versus something we do in 2025 because they're higher. And it may not be true for this specific location, but that's been our experience in general throughout the county.
Sorry, just to tag on to what Adam asked. So, right, like the only tools at your disposal is the data that's generated, right? Whomever, counts the cars, because I don't know who does that. But it's probably a state agency or something like that, and my question is your tools are based around data and statistics and science, not necessarily like anecdotal observations or perception or things like that, because what you do is engineering, right? It's traffic engineering. It's not traffic anecdotes. I just want some clarity there.
Correct. We are using traffic counts that were obtained. Actually, the city is the one that obtained them. We use their data. And we use a collision database that one of the things that often is confusing to people is they feel like a street is very unsafe. The data that we had from the statewide integrated traffic reporting system was that this intersection of Summerfield and Hohen actually had a collision rate that was about half the average for similar intersections statewide. So there isn't a demonstrated safety concern that we could find from the data.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just so happened to be chair of this board when this project was proposed the last time around. And I went back and I tried to find some of the things that I was concerned about. So one of the biggest things that I think concerns me about the design and layout of this project now is similar to what concerned me 3-ish years ago, is there's really no pedestrian access to the site from Hohen Avenue. It's all about the car, right? So there's really no way to get into the site from Hohen other than to walk down the middle of the driveway. Because if you look at the landscape plan, both of kind of the side lots are bioretention, really. So you really wouldn't want people walking through your bioretention on either side of what I think buildings A and B. And so there's really not a great pedestrian experience into the site from Hohen. And so, I mean, that was my concern 3 years ago. It's my concern now, too. Particularly with kind of all of the infrastructure improvements that have happened around those areas, bike lanes, sidewalks, kind of all those things that kind of have happened. I do appreciate the entrance that was created on Summerfield that wasn't there before. So the previous design of the long southerly building actually went all the way to the property line pretty much on Summerfield. And it really kind of ignored kind of how you can traverse across Summerfield and then up into Howarth Park and Annandale and all that. So I do appreciate that change, but it's kind of like you didn't get it all right, if you will, because you missed the main entrance. So I'm incredibly concerned about the lack of pedestrian access off of Hohen, particularly if, I don't know, maybe kids are walking to school or something, or riding their bikes or whatever. It's just not great. It's kind of unsafe inside the development to get out. I agree with Cher and Drew and Adam about sheet, whatever it was, A5.9, I think it is, that show the elevations from Summerfield northeast and northwest. They're like the most blasé elevations on the project. They need love. That being said, I think the entrance elevation is kind of interesting because the building, I lost it. It's kind of hard to see because there's a tree in the way, funny enough, but the building on the east side actually steps down, and it's hard to see because there's a tree in the way in the rendering on A55, but it's at least acknowledging kind of the lower commercial building next door by stepping the massing down, which I think is nice. And so there's a couple of those things that are kind of happening all across the site. Building, I think it's C or D, the long building, the southerly building, I think it's building D. You guys completely reimagined the corner of that and how it kind of interfaces with that new courtyard that you've created and adjusted the massing to generate a more pleasant kind of pedestrian experience at that location. Previously, the design had kind of this large gable and really flat facade, and it was just kind of like, hey, I'm here, building. So I do really appreciate kind of the recess that you've provided off of Summerfield. So that's good. I agree about the colors as well. I think, back in the day, when we used to meet in room 7, the city required submission of hard copy, big color boards. And I'm not saying we should bring that back, but it's certainly helpful sometimes in the digital age. I know I struggle with this all the time about trying to get the color right on prints and on digital reproductions. It's tricky. So I think we just need to hold, the city just needs to hold this accountable, and John, I think you'll do this when you guys go through CA on this, right? You'll be like, hey, put the right paint on. But yeah, I'm really concerned about the entrance off of Hohen. I completely understand kind of where you are from a density bonus perspective and where you kind of had to balance economy of building design with kind of building height, right? And just for anybody who's curious, in the building code, the reason that you see a lot of two-story, what are typically called garden-style apartments, right? And so they're two-story, and the reason that they're two-story is because in the building code, you're only allowed to service a certain number of entries to units off of one staircase. I think it's 4 units if memory serves. And so that's where you end up getting a lot of these kind of garden-style apartments where you get the stairs up and then you have like 2 doors or maybe 4 doors into 4 units. So that's generally where that comes from. And then there's an economy to doing that, right? Because you don't have to have an elevator. Elevators are inordinately expensive. And so what the architect has done here is they've created townhouse units above garages in these front 2 buildings, and they're kind of taking advantage of the building code to allow entry into those units without providing elevators. And then they're townhouse units, so they're contained within themselves, so they can have stairs. That's totally okay from a building code perspective, but then no elevator is required. And then building D, which is the 4-story building along the south side of the building, there's elevators. I think there's an elevator in the central core to service that because it's kind of a double-loaded apartment building, kind of a typical, like, more dense apartment building. And so they made a choice of kind of like building typology on how they arrange the number of units and parking and then servicing them with utilities and vertical circulation. So like that's all kind of why it is the way it is. If you look at kind of, if you understand building code, which I know not everybody does and I don't expect you to, but that's why kind of the larger building is on the south side and then you have the shorter buildings up front. And again, I think they're trying to transition on the front side to the adjacent parcels, utilizing kind of what I'm talking about in terms of the hinkiness of the building code, if you will. And I think, you know, then they've also kind of put the affordable unit in the corner there on kind of like the northeast corner of the upside down T. And also, again, that's taking advantage of kind of this one staircase sort of scenario. So there's a lot to unpack there that I probably shouldn't have gone down, but I heard a lot of questions and comments about building design and orientation and stairs and whatnot, and it's what I do for a living. So thought I might try to help explain it. So then the last thing too is I think the landscape palette, Adam, I don't know if you looked at that in depth, but I actually really appreciate the landscape palette and that they've managed to pack a lot into a little. You know, so I think that's appreciated, but I do think those two elevations need a lot of work. So the last question I had for you guys is, can we, so I know traffic is a huge concern. Is there a possibility of adding a condition to the project that likely, I mean, we can't require an additional traffic study because we're already through CEQA, but could we require a condition of approval that I think requires maybe some signage, like no left turn? You know, I'm trying to help, guys, and I think that you laughing at me trying to help is very offensive to me, you know, so I don't appreciate that. So I think maybe we try to add a condition about that. I don't know what mechanism we have in terms of city traffic to maybe add maybe kind of a median or something in there. I know there's the left-hand turn into the kind of the office parks across the way, so doing that probably is dicey. But I don't know what mechanism we have to try to assist that, because I know we've got a CEQA-approved element, we've got kind of some public concerns, we got to try to find a couple ways to help that. That's what I'm trying to get at, so.
So if I may respond to that. So thank you for those comments. I would say, yes, we have a traffic study, but we also have a project that has been reviewed by our traffic engineering team, as well as our engineering team here in Planning and Economic Development. And those types of conditions were not required. So I would actually ask our traffic engineer, Mike Ben-Mitty, to come on to see if there is any nexus for requiring that type of thing.
No, I didn't see any reason why we would prohibit lefts coming out of there. I think one thing, to be clear, and I do want to back up what Daleen said. I did look at the counts, and the counts that they used in 2019 had roughly 15,000 vehicles per day on Hohen. Today, our most recent count within the last year is down to 12,000. So a 20% reduction from the volumes that were done for the traffic study. Going back to the left turns, and it's alluded to in the study, the left turns when they're busiest is also when Hohen is least busy, and so the generally in the morning is when people are going to be leaving the apartment, making a left, going towards the freeway. That's also when Hohen Avenue does not have the backups eastbound to Summerfield Road. Conversely, in the afternoon, in the evening time, people are mostly going to be returning from home to those apartments, going east and making a right turn in. So I just want to say, one, I don't think it's that we're able to make that condition, but two, I don't think that the left turns coming out, also as shown by the study, there aren't sight distance restrictions. So it doesn't seem like it's something that would necessarily be required.
Anyone else? I just have a quick question. I know we were taking out a lot of trees with this project, and there are replacements coming in. Was there much thought to increasing the size of what's going to replace the 14 that are coming out? I don't want the landscape architect to not have anything to do here, so.
Well, thank you for that. I was starting to fall asleep there. So, we've upsized a lot of the trees. I think if you look at the tree legend, we've upsized. Minimum size for the city is 15 gallon, and we're using 36s, 24s, 48s, all the way. Every tree is larger than what is required. And part of that had to do with mitigation for tree removal. We wanted to upsize the trees because we wanted to get a count of trees that would work in terms of the arboreal value of the trees. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, maybe?
Yeah, thank you.
Don, while you're up there, I did have one question. It's always unfortunate to be taking out trees, but it needs to happen sometimes, and that's the reason why we have the mitigation. There was referenced about the walnut groves that used to be in this part of town. One of the things, my son was when my wife at the time was pregnant, we were going to do lots of tests at the medical facility right there. And I remember looking at all the grid of the oak tree or the walnut trees that were there. Was there any thought to having a reference to the history, the agricultural and the ecological history, maybe even a token walnut tree near the play area or something like that?
That's a possibility. I like to use appropriate trees in kind of difficult situations. And I think this is one of those situations. We have a lot of very tight spaces. Generally, the trees we're using are not necessarily as large as we could. We're going tall, but columnar. So, we're trying to mesh what we can with the space available. And honestly, trying to do walnuts like that in a situation like this, I don't think it would survive.
Sure, yeah, and yeah, I definitely was. The palette is definitely it's comprehensive, and you're working with very limited spaces, and then the bioretention constraints that you've got there too. Yeah, it was mainly just a thinking of some kind of token reference, not just like one walnut tree. I understand, of course, maintenance concerns, and walnuts are not great to have around in public areas. But something like it's nice to have a reference to the history. We've got plenty of the agricultural history even before any of this development was there. This was all open fields before anything. So if we're talking about an evolving neighborhood, that referencing what was there before, you got the Southeast Greenway right there, which also still has remnants of orchards there. A little something of just that. But you've done a really great job, of course, with the palette. It's you've got large enough trees that will fill the space but not overwhelm either the open spaces or the buildings and create maintenance hazards. So I think that what you've chosen is appropriate. Yeah.
Don's up there. Should we have a conversation about your concern around the pedestrian entrance on Hohen?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was gonna ask Melanie if she wanted to. It sounded like I think a lot of us had issues with the building A west elevation and the building B east elevation. And then it sounds like maybe a couple of us have issues with the lack of pedestrianness. And so, Melanie, do you want us to try to craft some conditions of approval to add as a friendly amendment to the motion?
Yes. Does someone else have, just before we move on, does someone else have, I know you mentioned the pedestrian access. Are there other concerns about this before we move on? Drew, you? No?
So I had a thought about, so the pedestrian access, I don't know how to crack that nut right now. But in terms of the design of the elevations, I think I have an idea that might help us provide a condition of approval for the applicant. Because I think what's going on is there's two things. So specifically on Building A, they have bay windows, effectively bump outs. But because of the garage, you know, that element isn't, it's being interrupted by the garages. And particularly, I think at Gridline AC, because there's such a large span in that garage, but I saw, there, it looks like there's a curb element. I'm wondering why, you know, if there's an opportunity to put a little fin wall, I guess, all the way down at that location on Building A. So then effectively at Gridline AD, AC, and AB, AC, AD on Building A West elevation, I think we need to zhuzh up that vertical element that comes down, and I think that'll break up the facade. You guys agree? Okay, so we need a condition for that. So I think
I don't know if we have a zhuzh up.
Yeah, we don't have a
in
zhuzh
our
requirement.
repertoire.
So I think so. Applicant shall provide massing differential alongside Building A west elevation at grid lines AB, AC, and AD, and add a wall along grid line AC in the parking area.
Board member, can I ask you a question? About the wall addition next to the garage, how about the vision triangle or line of the side when the car is coming out from garage?
So I think what they've got going on, if you look at the floor plan, I looked at that too. Like they've kind of got like 3, 3, and maybe the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked like, I'm looking at the wrong plan, sorry. So they've got 3 and 3 and 3 and 3, and it looks like there's a wall there in the plan, but it's not there in elevation. Maybe I'm just crazy. But on gridline AC on sheet A2.1, there appears to be a wall, and then I think, Drew, you identified like pilotis.
The northeast elevation was the one.
Yeah, something like it looks like there is, I think to your question, Monet, it looks like on the plans there is a little like wall in between each parking stall. It's just not showing up on an elevation for whatever reason. But it's on the plans. Somebody put hide in Revit, I think.
True. I see the interior wall, I don't see the exterior. You're talking about the east elevation?
Yeah,
West.
so
Okay, east elevation?
maybe I'm just looking at it wrong. I'm talking about the inside of Building A. So the side of Building A that, maybe I'm mixing this up. Sorry. No, I'm right. Yeah, the side of Building A and B, they both face inward. They're kind of boring. Well, one of them's boring. The west. Yeah, the west one's kind of boring. But maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, which is possible. Building A, west. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm not reading it wrong. That's the stair tower. Ah, okay. So no, this is on the side that's not in the parking area. I see what's going on. It's not. I think, or maybe it doesn't happen on the upper floors. I think I figured it out. So there's a stair tower on AB and AD, and that's what's bumping out, and that's what we're seeing on the ground floor. But there's no similar articulation in the middle at AC along the west elevation. And I think we should add something so it. Client gets a closet, maybe.
Are you still crafting, or?
No, I think we got it. Okay, I think there's actually two conditions. One's a consider and the other one's a shall. So one is consider matching the stair tower articulation at building A at grid line AC to be similar to grid line AD and AB. So that gives them the option to add the bump out on the ground floor and create a closet, but they don't have to. But it's bumped on the bottom. So this is the stair tower on the bottom, and then it flushes out on the top. And I think what's driving us all mad is that the white is very monolithic. And so what I was going to say as the shall then is what I said earlier. There shall be horizontal articulation at the stair towers at AD and AB with a matching horizontal articulation at AC. So I'm like, it's like moving the stair tower like 6 inches out, like adding 6 inches to the stair tower. So.
I believe, does staff have that written?
Yeah. Did you guys hear what I said?
So we heard what you said. I don't have it exactly written down, but we will be going back and reviewing the video to make sure that we get it accurate.
Yeah, but I said the applicant shall provide horizontal articulation at grid lines AB and AD at building A, west elevation, and a matching horizontal articulation at grid line AC. So I think what I'm asking the applicant to do from a plan perspective is the stair tower grows by a stud effectively and creates a shadow line articulation pushed out, and then also asking you to maybe introduce a different color. But you can use the same material.
Do you have any questions?
John, does that make sense to you?
Sorry, it's a little difficult to follow you without plans here, but you're talking about the neighbor side of Building A, yes, right? Yeah, this certainly can provide more articulation and coloring.
Can you
there.
speak into the mic? I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
We can certainly provide more articulation and consider the coloring there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I was asking is like I think we're trying to find something that, when we condition projects, we're trying to find something that doesn't upset the apple cart, right? Like, this is a little to no dollar value add potentially, and
Sure.
You're just growing the depth of the stair tower to create articulation and shadow lines so it doesn't feel so monolithic on that facade.
Sure.
And I think we could take those same two conditions, we'd have to write them for building B, if I can get to it. Building B, east elevation, but in this case, you've got actually these really cute bay windows, and I think we just need to figure out a way to pull them down to the ground. Maybe. I don't know. Is that what you guys, was that what you were thinking, Drew?
I'm on A5.6. I'm trying to, it might be mislabeled because I'm trying to understand what this is, but I think that's the west of elevation of A. That's the one I'm reacting to. The view from the Summerfield northeast, lower right.
Oh, that's the affordable building. That's building C.
That's buildings.
Yeah, we just talked about okay, we can
We
talk
got about building A.
We just talked about A. B, I'm wrong, not B. Sorry, I mixed up. So you're talking about C. And so it's going to be the west elevation of C? It's this guy. Nope, north elevation of C on 5.3.
5.3?
Yeah, go to 5.3. But I think that's what you were reacting. It's the two bay windows that are up high, and then there's a negative space below. And so then it makes it feel really monolithic on either side of the stair tower and the yellow.
Just at the ends is where I kind of could see a use of some articulation. And I think you brought up like a fin wall even. Something.
Let me get to the floor plan here. I think there might, I think we gotta figure out what's going on. There's parking on the ground floor, I think, is what's going on, so. Building C north. Oh, there's actually not parking. Oh, okay, I know, yeah, I know what's going on. Can we bring, yeah, I think we can bring the bay windows down, because it looks to me like, well, no, that's a kitchen nook. Well, actually, it'd be really cool if it was bumped out. So there's a kitchen nook there, and then that one's an entry to the walkway. So, okay, I think we can figure this out.
I have a question. So there's concern about the articulation on the building. Instead of trying to be so specific in what we are telling them to do, should we just say that we would like for them to?
I mean, I totally agree with that. I mean, in the past, we've said consider, and that leaves it kind of very open-ended. I think we've all identified the issue, and so a lot of times, and the applicant can disagree or agree with me, but a lot of times when we've kind of identified the issue and we know what it is, we can propose a solution, and if they agree with it, then they don't have to redesign a whole bunch of stuff, and then potentially it doesn't come back to us, and it's sometimes specificity can be really nice, because then it's like, this is what we're asking you to do, this will solve the problem, and then we're done. So so that all being said, on building C north elevation on A5.3, there's two bay windows on the second and third floors. I think we should pull that massing bump that's up on the second and third floors and pull it all the way to the ground. And what that does on the ground floor, on the east side, the east unit, the affordable unit, it allows you to create a kitchen nook bump out, I think, that's in that unit, and maybe put a clerestory window in there. And then on the other side, you can better frame the pass-through opening for pedestrian access. So it's more of a portal and less of like a cut in a white mass. Because I think that's what it feels like there. Yeah, exactly.
Now that we're looking at elevation C, do you think that is the main area for the shall, or should we keep with building A as well?
Well, I think we can do a shall. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I mean, as long as the applicant thinks that they can make that adjustment relatively easy, that's where the shall kind of happens, at least in my opinion. We don't have to. It's up to you guys.
I'd say for me, the only one would be the elevation C, just personally. So what do you guys think?
I think if the applicant doesn't have an objection to making these kinds of changes, then the shall does make it very clear.
Well, we certainly would look at all your suggestions and take them into serious consideration, of course.
So just to be clear, if it is a shall, the applicant will be required to do
Yes.
that, and they can't just take it into consideration.
Yes.
If it is a consider, then they can.
Yes. Yes. So do you feel strongly enough that they shall do this? We have one yes.
I feel pretty strongly about it.
We have two yeses.
We're talking about a shall for both buildings, A and C, to increase the articulation. Yes, both, please.
Yes.
Okay, shall it is.
Yeah, so I think on this one, we could, so if they write the condition, it would be applicant shall pull bay window articulation on building C north elevation all the way to the ground. On the east side unit, this allows for introduction of a clerestory window, potentially, in the kitchen dining nook, and then frame, well, I mean, or that, and then you can frame the opening on the other side, but we can let them figure it out, but I think we just need to require the articulation from the bay window, vertically.
Do we vote on this first? And then I was going to ask a quick question about the access thing. So if we put a pin in that one? We would just put a pin in that one?
So it's up to Melanie, she's the boss. But typically, we like to do all the friendly amendments all at once, right?
Yes, we would. So, but I have another question. So we talked about pedestrian access. How do you feel about that?
Perhaps I could address the pedestrian access on Hohen. If you look at the drawings, the second floor of building A and B extend out from the first floor where the garages are set back, and the vehicle traffic will be within that width between the second floor of both buildings. So there is pedestrian space on the ground floor in front of the garages for pathway.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing, but then I was going to bring up maybe it's about, you're getting at what happens, outside the building to the sidewalk. And right now it looks like just, the partial height, a brick fence, our little sign, and a little strip of grass. And so I see that as like a strip of grass that's going to get, walked on and beaten down. So open question, especially to our landscape participant here, is whether, do you think it would work to have a little path, like a little hardscape path?
Well, that was one of my questions. You say there's pedestrian space, but there needs to be an intent behind space. Is it designed?
That was the intent, yes. Some striping could be provided, of course.
Is there anything designed now? Is there any striping, any material change? Is there just
No, not
open
now.
space underneath there?
Yeah, that's not.
Okay, and I think that's what we're responding to, which is fine. But I think we're responding to that we would like to see pedestrian access on either side at the base of the garages, I would say, and providing pedestrian access to the sidewalks on Hohen, connecting Hohen to the interior circulation, I think is one way we would say that. Because there's no pedestrian circulation, there's vehicular circulation there, but we would like to see pedestrian circulation access from the Hohen to the interior of the site.
Understood.
And have that designed out.
Looks like there is pedestrian access here, a pathway here on either side of this.
I'm talking with the accessing sites there, but extending all the way at the base of the buildings, going both sides of the driveway lanes. Yep. Underneath, something like that. Having some kind of pedestrian access to the interior of the site from the Hohen sidewalks.
And also, there is the space, but if you are walking along, there's planters there that you would have to step up to. So maybe those planters don't go all the way to the building?
They don't look like they do. They look like there's a pathway, and then there's a green space, and then there's the planter.
I believe those planters have ramps to access the stairwells.
Yeah, so Monet, is there any way that you can put the architectural plans on the screen? Because Cher and I are looking at this, and
The first page.
yeah, this may just be like a Revitism where there's grading shown that's not exactly matching kind of like what might actually be going on. But the way it looks right now is that you got to take a step up off of a curb into there. And I think that's the antithesis of what we, I think, all identified in terms of how you process through the space, right? Because you can't, like if somebody lives in building A or building B and they want to go out to Summerfield or they want to come out to Hohen, they've got to navigate an up and down sidewalk that's against the garages and this little itty bitty strip of concrete that comes out of the stair tower, and then there's plantings, and it's not an enjoyable pedestrian processional experience to either ingress or egress out of your unit. It prioritizes pulling into the parking garage and then going up to the unit, right? As opposed to, like, you know, what I think is one of the fantastic things about this project is that you don't just have 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. You have 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom units. We didn't really talk about that, but like there are 0 apartment buildings getting built in Santa Rosa with 4 bedrooms, like 0. And the fact that they're 4-bedroom affordable units, I mean, like that, frankly, that's a Warren Hedgepeth holdover on this project that he, I think, was super passionate about in terms of providing affordable housing for families. I remember him telling me about this one time. And so like, that's a huge deal. And then you just have this kind of, huh? Yeah. That too, yeah, which is great. So, and I think, so my point is that you can't, it's very challenging to kind of get from this side of the project all the way around. And it's not a pleasant experience.
I'd like to propose some text for that, that the applicant shall provide pedestrian access from the Hohen entrance to the interior, to the interior of the site, connecting to the public area in the north or southeast portion, defined through material change or some other, yeah. It would like a defined, designed pedestrian access from Hohen to the interior of the site, connecting all the way through to the public portion of the site.
Yes.
Board Member Adam, is this area you're talking, this area being shared on the screen? Access on this side?
Yes. So where you have the cursor now, where A2 and A1 and B3 and B2, pedestrian access down that driveway. So if you can zoom out a little bit or go south.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once more.
If I could provide a little more description on the pathway to Hohen for pedestrians.
Sure. And then, one sec, please. So going from that entrance where we had the cursor there down to where it jogs to the right and then over to the public areas. So I'd like to have a pedestrian access. Basically, I would like to have a circulation plan. Is it? I'm not making that clear.
So,
but Adam, what I like too is that you defined through either material change or color change as well. I think that's super important because it's providing dignity to the pedestrian experience. Because otherwise, they're going to be like, "Where do I walk?" And they're going to walk.
Yeah, it's not just providing space, but a defining space.
Sorry, go ahead.
So that driveway is sloping up as you go into the project, right? Or it's sloping in any case. And at the planters, one side of the planter is actually at the pedestrian walk level, and it's the other side of the planter is ramped down to where to catch up with the walk. Yeah. If that makes sense.
On either side of the entrance there? You're saying one's at different elevation?
Yeah, that planter's
Yeah.
extending at the stairwell, one
So
side.
I think we can say on it doesn't have to be both. We can say which, so to not hamstring you on designing that out, say just provide pedestrian access from Hohen.
Yeah, of course.
Through the site to the public areas. Public amenities. Although I don't think I can do a friendly amendment to my own resolution. Does someone else have to do that?
Before we go there, I think we might need some, make sure that we have some clarification on the conditions that Board Member Weigel had suggested, just to make sure, and we're going to go back and watch the video to make sure that we get it all, but there was a lot of conversation in between some of those considers and shalls, so if we could perhaps get a little clarification, that would be helpful.
So there were three. One was, let me get to the elevations, sorry. So the first one was consider. Wait, no, I had to write the shall first. My bad, sorry. Okay, so the first one was shall. It's applicant shall provide additional horizontal articulation at Building A, west elevation, at grid lines AD, AC, and AB, including a material or color change. So then the consider that would go with that would be consider pulling the previously mentioned element at grid line AC all the way to the ground to match the stair towers at AB and AD. So they don't have to do that. And then the second one was applicant shall extend bay windows at Building C, north elevation, all the way to the ground. And then how they figure out how to deal with that interiorly and portal for the pedestrian walkway, it's on them. Adam helped me out. I was trying to get too specific, and Melanie too, and I appreciate that.
Okay, so we've got two conditions. One of them is a two-parter with a shall and a consider, and the other one is a shall. Okay, and then we have the one from Vice Chair Sharon on the pedestrian access. Are there any other conditions that the board would like to add?
We want to add the consider for returning the brick to the, around by the courtyard on the, so we both kind of saw some benefit of returning the brick that's facing Summerfield, just enough to, the brick wall to extend to the courtyard.
Yeah, I could see adding that as a consider. Yeah, definitely.
Consider extending brick wall on south driveway, the extent of the courtyard.
It's referring to the masonry wall on the eastern elevation and proposing that the applicant shall consider extending that masonry wall, replacing the solid wood, proposed wood wall with the masonry wall at least to where the buildings start. So to define that courtyard, that's all. The southern border of the courtyard there.
Got it, thank you.
So I noticed something about the package here as well. So in the design review checklist, there is a requirement for a preliminary grading plan, and there isn't one in this package. So based on what Adam would like for the pedestrian thing, I think we need to require a preliminary grading plan to accompany that. Do you guys agree? Yeah, there's just an existing survey. There's not a preliminary grading plan. So shall provide preliminary grading plan.
So if there's nothing further,
So I think we will need the maker of the motion to accept the friendly amendments, and then the person who seconded to second that.
Oh, we also have to move to accept. I move to accept the friendly amendments as read to staff.
It was
who
Sharon.
made the motion?
Vice Chair
Adam.
Sharon.
Yes. Adam, do you accept the friendly amendment?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chair.
And who did the second?
Second.
You accept the friendly amendment?
Yes.
Thank you.
And with that, we will go ahead and proceed with a vote. Okay. So Board Member Anderson is absent, so Board Member Ennis,
Yes.
Board Member Fajan,
Yes.
Board Member Weigel,
No.
Vice Chair Sharon,
Yes.
Chair Jones-Carter.
Yes.
With 4 ayes, let the record reflect that that vote passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please note, this action is final unless an appeal is filed with the city clerk's office within 10 calendar days of today's decision pursuant to zoning code section 20-62.030. The meeting of the Design Review and Preservation Board is now adjourned.